Visualize perfection, freshly picked ingredients, tantalizing flavors, sweet and sour intertwine, and dance into your glass. One-of-a-kind arrangements, hitting every note. Why wait for the weekend? It's on at the grill.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Pretty gloomy day, all things considered, as we've headed into our Monday afternoon. But we did have rainfall yesterday, and we're kind of sandwiched between our next rain chances moving forward. I'm joined alongside Chief Meteorologist Matt Laupon from Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor. And Matt, we are tracking a soggy forecast moving into our Tuesday. So go ahead and get those outdoor activities done now before those showers move in.
Absolutely. It's going to be maybe not nonstop rainfall, but a lot of showers that arrive. And we expect that if you're trying to plan around that, first part of the day is drier. But of course, plans don't always get planned around during a weekday, right? And so we'll time out when those heaviest showers moving into your area here in a minute. So the rain returns for your Tuesday. That's our big headline. Plan for it. Make sure you have the Mississippi Live Weather app. It has those rain alerts on to let you know when rainfall is moving toward your area. So a good way, again, to stay ahead of any issues there. Luckily, not a severe weather situation, though we are looking back toward one that happened this weekend down in South Mississippi. Tornado touchdown yesterday. Gabe and I will be breaking that down coming up here in a few minutes. We're much cooler as we look toward the Halloween forecast, as we should have a couple of bursts of cooler air move in and drier air, and that'll make it to where it's legitimately chillier. We'll look at that in more detail here in a few minutes. And the significant storm in the tropics, of course, Melissa, a very strong Category 5. Anything when you're talking about Category 5 is strong, but this one is about 20 miles per hour above the threshold for Category 5. So we're talking extremely devastating potential for some locations in the Caribbean. We're looking at the track on where that's going here in a couple of moments. But for the first 12, as you can see, we're at 61 at 7 p.m., 57 by 10 p.m. I have this percentage on there. It's drizzle really at most. Most of us were dry this evening. We're 56 by 1 o'clock in the morning, 54 by 4 a.m. So it is not a swift drop in temperatures. That blanketed cloud cover keeps us from dropping very quickly. And so we're just kind of locked into this here. Though we do show, looks like that camera up there in Corinth is waiting to update a moment, because that's a lot clearer and a lot brighter than it is right now. We do know the temperature is accurate on that, though. Coming in 57 degrees, feels like 57 at this instant. That humidity at 100%, that's the sign of the cloudy, murky conditions. There we go. Oxford's got it, though. At 59, that updating shot there. Again, appreciate the good folks there at North Mississippi Storm Chasers for partnering with us here on Mississippi Live Weather. Of course, a 501c3. If you would like to help donate to their cause to spread sky cams around the state, certainly any donation makes a big, big difference, and we certainly appreciate them. Cloudy there in the Oxford area out in Lafayette County, but not any rain coming from those clouds. And again, low clouds with the camera here in the Tupelo area. Comes in 59. Winds are fairly calm. And I think that's the reason when we show you our future cast here in a few minutes, you'll see the little bits of green out there. I think it's looking at drizzle and this low cloud cover as opposed to meaningful rainfall. Looking at Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Again, we are clear here across North Mississippi with rain largely exiting to the east of us. I know a lot of rainfall yesterday with this same system that again brought that tornado down there near Gaucher. We'll look at that in more detail coming up here in a couple minutes. That system, though, important because what we have going on, we have a pretty good sized dip in the jet stream associated with that. And with that big dip that we have there, that is working to take this down there in the Caribbean and move it hopefully a long, long ways away from us. As we kick this over to our satellite perspective, it's not hard to tell that that is a tropical system, and Melissa is vicious. As I put the loop on here, and I'm going to speed this up. We had it for the super high-res stuff a minute ago, so I'm going to come and speed this up here for you. You'll notice on the loop, this one is not moving much, largely kind of stationary. In fact, if I'm going to make this instead a 24-hour loop here for a moment. So it's put on 24 hours of data, and we're going to speed this up to where it's kind of 1 hour in between. Notice how over the last 24 hours, it has not moved much. A little bit back to the west, but it's now beginning the process of stalling, and we expect it to turn northward. And that is a bad thing for interests there in and around Jamaica, or for whatever reason you have interest to take you down here toward Cuba or the Dominican Republic and Haiti, this is going to kind of head northward and just drop massive amounts of rainfall. Some of these locations out here going to be talking about more than 20 inches of rainfall, could be near 30 inches of rainfall for a few spots. So big bad issues there. We're going to break down everything related to Melissa here in a minute, but I think the one headline we want to not move any further before we say this system that we have digging in up here toward, the east coast of the U.S., that is going to shove that out in the Atlantic. So while it is in a position where a lot of times we draw a line and we say, look out here toward Mexico or the Gulf, that's not the case with this. This is going to turn almost directly northward because of this trough of low pressure moving in from the north and west. So I want to make sure we're clear on that before we move forward. Of course, we'll dig in a lot more detail about that system here in a minute. For us, though, our change, again, is going to be more chances for rainfall, and it's going to come from back here out toward locations out on the plains. In particular, we're looking at this front that's moving at us from the north and west. Now, this front is going to gradually move toward us and bring us some cooler air, but we also have kind of the southern portion of this here, this low. And ahead of that, that's going to send a ripple that's going to bring us chances for rainfall. So let's bring it in here just a little bit closer if we could. So give me a moment to kind of bring this in more toward the southeastern United States. So as we show here on the wide shot on Futurecast, little bits of green around North Mississippi. This is drizzle at most, maybe 1/100 of an inch of meaningful rainfall, and that might be pushing it. Most locations, it's not going to be much, if anything. But as we progress toward early tomorrow morning, you'd see we're looking at about 6 a.m. on your Tuesday. Look at these showers out there, Oklahoma back toward Arkansas. That is our next chance for some rainfall moving in, and we'll come from that as that moves a little closer to us. But you'll know still for your morning commute, that is going to stay to the west of us, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning out here, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. We're still mainly dry on the Mississippi side. I'll actually be in for Maggie tomorrow morning, tracking these showers starting at 6:30 a.m. And so 6:30, 7, and 7:30 a.m. we'll have live cut-ins here on Mississippi Live Weather. Again, anytime in the Mississippi Live Weather app. As we progress throughout your morning, we expect the rainfall to kind of spread in coverage. And while we'll go up to around, say, 40% on that rain coverage, as you can see there by 3 p.m., or 50 to maybe even 60% by 6 p.m. tomorrow, this is not a severe weather threat. These are showers and occasional rumble, but not a severe weather threat. Thankfully. That's one of the things we'll be looking at in more detail here in a couple minutes with our meteorologist, Gabe Maynard. But this is also one of our better rain chances looking forward over the course of the next week or so. Meaning if you didn't get this weekend and you haven't gotten it in the last day or so, and we don't pick it up tomorrow, probably not getting it for a little while. We'll look in more detail at your complete forecast here from the Room to Room Weather Center as Mississippi Live Weather at 6 continues. Coming up here in a couple minutes.
This roof's getting installed with our premium roofing system. Backed by our 50-year warranty. And there's a 0% financing, no payment for 6 months options that this customer utilized. If you're looking for a new roof and you need an affordable option, call Absolute Restoration.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. We knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynard.
Yeah, we've been talking about how we're sandwiched between two different weather patterns. That low that moved through over the weekend and that low that's moving through tomorrow. We'll get to the one that's coming tomorrow here in just a moment, but I want to bring things back to this weekend because we did get multiple tornado reports from Moss Point, Pascagoula, as well as Gaucher. Had multiple reports, and the National Weather Service did confirm that 2 tornadoes did touch down there in southern Mississippi. But Matt, we actually did get some viewer-submitted video that kind of showcased exactly this. And so if we bring it over here to the band, we get a better look at this. But an action-packed...
Absolutely. Here, I'll send it over to you. Go ahead.
I was going to say an action-packed Saturday, should I say, Sunday morning for some areas, whereas, over here in North Mississippi, not exactly the same case. So let me change this over here to the computer, and as you can see behind me right there, and I'm going to stand over on this side of your screen, you can see what looks to be that funnel right there in the distance. This is looking I-10 south there towards Moss Point and Pascagoula. This would have been that secondary tornado that did touch down, had multiple reports of some homes damage there in the area. I know it's hard to see with all that rain, but you can kind of see that funnel shape right there. And again, this is on I-10. Reason why they're going slow, want to emphasize this, because it's not exactly safe to go slow on the interstate, but there was a wreck that took place, and so traffic was flowing pretty slowly, and so that's why we were able to get a video. This, I believe, let me see who this was submitted by. Our weather watcher Travis down there in Pascagoula, so getting a good look there. But Matt, this was a damaging storm, one that...
Yeah, damaging storm. I know, keep your microphone up on that. Sorry, it faded off there for a second. Can you make that any bigger there? Can we, if you use like the middle mouse button, zoom that in a little bit? Yeah, it's not going to want to do that. So I would say if you go over to, yeah, but you can definitely see the shape of that there. Clearly looks like a tornado. It's low contrast, and that happens a lot with spotters even out in the field. It can be difficult to kind of see them because of the contrast of that there. But man,
there it is, right there, went over us.
Yeah, there it is right there. That's scary stuff. Appreciate Travis for sharing that, our weather watch right down there. So anyway, appreciate that. And Gabe, of course, that was early in the morning, and that's one of the things that does happen down there at the coast quite often, right?
Yeah, and the thing with that, we were texting behind the scenes saying, hey, we're in church right now. What exactly took place? And that's where a lot of people were as we got into our Sunday morning. This is about 10 o'clock right here, 9:47 a.m., where we got that confirmed tornado warning for folks in Moss Point and Pascagoula as that was working into that warm sector. And so folks who are at church might have heard that alarm. And if they had that Mississippi Live weather app, would have informed them that there was one in the area. So one of those layers of protection.
And that's the reason why we always talk about these multiple ways to find out if you're in the danger zone. Of course, that's why weather call becomes so important, because if you're in the middle of the church, and I don't know about you, but I silence my phone when I go into church, right? Or I put it in Do Not Disturb. Well, weather call, if you put it in as one of your favorites, will bust through your Do Not Disturb so that you can have, even sometimes you'll put alert. I turn alerts off on my phone when I'm in church as well. So you want to make sure, though, that you have something that can bust through and get a hold of you. Of course, our Mississippi Live weather call, you can see, scan that QR code there. It works anywhere around the country for tornado warnings to let you know if one has touchdown. And as you note there on that graphic, Gabe, that graphic also shows that it says tornado confirmed. And that's the situation where Weather Call gives you a second phone call to say, not only was this a tornado warning, but now one has been confirmed. So not necessarily a sales moment here, but a safety moment to say that's the reason why we talk about it, is because of situations like that where you're not paying attention, where you're doing life and Mother Nature's doing something else.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to monitor it 24/7, because then your life just becomes weather. And even us as meteorologists, we do not do weather 24/7. We do have lives outside of this. And so we have those layers of protection, and we recommend you guys to do the exact same. Keeps us safe, keeps our families safe, and keeps everyone around us safe as a result. So layers of protection essential. So let's go ahead and bring it back up here to North Mississippi, where we are tracking another active pattern moving into our Tuesday. Not severe. Want to emphasize that. Bold, underline, however I need to emphasize it, but going to make sure you guys know that. If we carry that forecast into our evening hours, what's happening at 7, 8, 9 o'clock that's not happening right now? Showers. And that's the thing. I feel like Futurecast already overdoing those rain chances, and we do have 10% in the forecast to accommodate a few sprinkles, but I think that's even an overestimate, as we're not tracking much in the form of anything when it comes to moisture in the sky. And so a lot of this is just going to be cloud cover, and those gloomy conditions do stick around overnight and into the start of our Tuesday as well. So heading out the door will look very similar to what it was today. And I remember I was having a conversation with Annalise this morning, and she was like, is it going to be cold by the afternoon? She asked me that every single time, because needing the forecast, and she said today it was actually colder towards the afternoon in regards to how it felt compared to when she left this morning. So shows you that the clouds don't really offer much change in the form of heating by the afternoon. So basically what you expect when you get out in the morning is what's going to be happening later on in the day with a forecast like this. So Tuesday morning, still waking up. gloomy conditions, cloudy skies, and that, of course, I left that graphic in there. Bear with me. Let's just go ahead and advance at 1. Low temperatures is what I wanted to show you guys. Very mild. We're talking a low 50s across the region with 51 in Bruce, 53 Senatobia, 55 Greenwood, and 57 around Greenville. So this is going to be those blanketed clouds basically blanketing the sky from any of that heat escaping, and that's why we're starting so mild comparatively speaking to what we should be at this time of year. If we keep Futurecast going through your Tuesday morning, you can see that those cloudy conditions do stick around, but rain chances start to move in there towards Little Rock. That next system that's starting to progress more into our area, or at least close to our area by the time we get towards our late Tuesday morning. So there by 10 a.m., you're getting those showers that are forming around Cleveland, Shelby, Clarksdale, and Greenville. That's going to be right along the Mississippi River, and moving into our lunch hour, those expand a little bit more closer to that I-55 corridor. So if you live west of I-55, have that rain gear, especially for any lunch plans that require you to get out and about, because if anything, it's going to be light to moderate showers by that point. Now, for folks east of 55, not going to get those rain chances until later on in the day. So let's track that out. By the time we get towards 1:30, 2, 3 o'clock, there you see rain chances moving closer to 45, and folks in Tupelo getting at least those light showers happening, and even there towards Fulton and Iuka. So yes, we're getting rainfall, but not going to be nearly as impactful east of 55 compared to what we're getting west of 55 for the first half of our Tuesday. But luckily, there's a second half to our Tuesday, and we're going to experience exactly that as that front pushes a lot of this heavier moisture towards Highway 45 and for folks in northwest Alabama. So just because you don't have rainfall just yet doesn't mean you're not going to get it. It might take a little bit of patience before we get some of that rainfall by the afternoon. So heading home from school or home from work definitely needs some of that rain gear ready, because you will be getting it at some point as we wrap up our Tuesday. So Monday night, here's a look at, like I said, that next model run that we can look at to assess how much rainfall we're going to receive. A couple hundredths of an inch is what we have into those overnight hours, and pushing more into our Tuesday morning, as you can see right here, barely any when it comes to our rainfall accumulation, just a couple hundredths of an inch, 0.05, 0.09, the rest just trace amounts of rainfall. But let's really surge ahead in that forecast, and you can already see a little bit of that moving into Arkansas with some 2+ inches just outside of Little Rock. So bring it back here to North Mississippi. What we'll see throughout the day is that green inch closer and closer to that Mississippi River, and by 3 p.m. there's some significant moisture around Greenville, and for folks there towards Cleveland, moving up that Highway 61 area all the way up there towards Memphis. That moisture surges more towards the east, and that's where we'll get that significant rainfall closer to the latter part of our Tuesday. Even out here towards Highway 45, I mentioned that you guys will get rainfall closer to that early afternoon time frame. Well, this is 7 p.m. and we're talking about a couple tenths of an inch, at most a quarter of an inch. So that's not really measurable amounts. It's really going to be that late evening threat that we're going to get some higher chances or higher outputs of that rainfall. So here you're getting 10 p.m. close to an inch in Greenville. Same thing there towards Cleveland and Belzona. That builds as that warm front and that warm sector really pushes into the region. And what we're going to see across the region is about 1.5 towards Belzona, 1 inch Greenwood. Same thing Grenada, same thing Water Valley, and yes, same thing in Tupelo. It's just going to be a little bit delayed compared to what folks out west are seeing. We're going to be getting ours more into those overnight hours. And Matt, I remember you talking about that. It's good sleeping weather. This is an optimal sleeping forecast. Waking up on your Wednesday morning might be impossible based off what we're seeing.
Don't say that. I'm in for Maggie tomorrow morning and Wednesday morning, so I don't want to oversleep things as far as that goes.
That's an awful time to fill in.
No, it isn't, or maybe it's a great time to fill in. Because there'll definitely be some things on the monitor to talk about. I did want to ask this. I've been out long enough, and I'm still playing kind of catch up. How are we on drought? Is still drought conditions pretty significant? I mean, I can pull it up here, but I'm just asking you.
Well, I could say it, but there's so many different areas to look at. I will say last week's drought monitor looks way better, and that's a great thing. And heading into this week's drought monitor, we have the weekend's rainfall. We will have Tuesday's rainfall, and those contributing together will definitely make a significant dent on this drought monitor. So level 4 got pulled back from Columbus all the way down into southern Pickens County. Level 3 remained about the same, but honestly, it's shaping up a lot better than what things have been. We were worried about some areas getting level 3 or 4 drought a couple of weeks ago. That not exactly a concern going forward. And honestly, some areas, I wouldn't be surprised to see that pulled back. Real quick, I want to say with the drought monitor, if you want to pull it back up, down in Atala County, prevailed week after week. And the southern area of Atala County, don't know what they did, but they were speaking to the right people and getting the right amount of rainfall because they never went under a drought a single time.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're looking at that 360-day, percent of normal, certainly they're running a little bit above. And obviously, this has been more of a kind of short-term drought. That's why the deficit isn't as high on some of those. But 30-day deficit, a lot of folks more in the positive than negative on that. We'll double check. I think that can't be the correct color table. Give me a moment here. There we go.
Kind of trippy.
That's what we're looking at there. I don't know why I decided to want that color table. Let me see if I can. Nope, it defaulted back. So we'll have to go back in and tweak that one. Put that to the note here.
It's funky. We'll take it.
That's one way to look at it. Okay, so that's 30-day deficit. Okay, go ahead, buddy.
Well, yeah, so this is just the 30-day deficit showing you those dry conditions that are in place. As we look at the top of your screen, those more extreme amounts are 1 to 2 inch deficit over the last 30 days, and we are getting some of that just outside of I-55, but for folks that are across North Mississippi, not looking too shabby. I remember years past, we're talking about significant drought, and that's what folks out towards Arkansas are getting, towards Louisiana are getting, Texas, Oklahoma. So we are in a very fortunate spot where we've gotten a lot of rainfall that's left our drought or our rainfall deficit looking a little bit better than years past. So definitely looking at the glass half full, the optimistic side of things, as that forecast remains pretty soggy going forward for the next 24 to 48 hours. So let's keep that futurecast going. You can see that low. I realized I never moved it back. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Matt. That low is inching closer to North Mississippi, moving right over the top of us. And what you get with this low, and let me see if I'll be able to demonstrate or tellustrate here real quick. You get these bands that form, and so you're getting one right there, you're getting another one right there, and what these are, these bands working around that low pressure center in this counterclockwise direction, so you kind of see those lift and wrap around, but clear and defined bands. So as we've talked about at the 5 o'clock hour, it's one of those forecasts where if it's not raining in your area, give it about 30 minutes to an hour, and that next band will sweep through. Similar setup to what we had Saturday, same thing will be happening here for our Tuesday. I keep saying Saturday, Sunday. Same thing will be happening for our Tuesday. So if you've needed rainfall, well, then you've definitely gotten it this past couple of days. So enjoy it, soak it in, literally, because it is going to be a soggy forecast. Wednesday sees those rain chances return. You get this secondary low that starts to develop that's a little bit more towards the northwest. Oh, let me see if I can. Am I messing that up? Might be me. There we go. Okay, so you get the secondary low that's starting to develop there towards northeast Arkansas. And what that's going to do is wrap around some of this moisture as that trough dips over North Mississippi. So there you're getting some heavier showers down around Clarksdale and close to eastern Arkansas around the Jonesboro area. That does inch closer to North Mississippi, and you see folks in Corinth all the way down Highway 45 getting decent outputs, anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1/2 of an inch, in addition to what we've already received at this point from our Tuesday. So adding to that, and this is one of those forecasts where, to beat the drought, you don't need 4 inches at one time. You need an inch spread out over each day. And whenever you have that forecast, and that's what makes a significant dent on that drought monitor. That's why this setup is so important, because Sunday had a couple of inches of rainfall. Tomorrow, or Tuesday, getting about an inch of rainfall. Wednesday, potentially getting another 1/2 inch to an inch of rainfall. That is very beneficial whenever it comes to those drought conditions and putting us in a better side of things moving forward. That hopefully eliminates the drought completely. That's a little bit of a stretch, but at least makes it look better. So 3 p.m. on your Wednesday, dealing with those moderate showers right along the Alabama state line and some lingering isolated moisture out there towards northwest Mississippi by 6 p.m. and that wrapping around as well before those rain chances really start to clear out. And we'll get a good perspective of this if we expand things out. You can see the winds already shifting, coming in from the northwest. And then you see the high pressure system. That's going to be the big driver in our forecast as we wrap up our work week heading into Thursday, Friday, and yes, into your weekend. So rain chances, as you can see right here, they basically are topping out Tuesday, 50%, 30% by Wednesday, 10% there by Thursday, really remaining dry into our weekend forecast as well, maybe potentially an isolated shower or two, but that's even a little bit of a stretch. I debated on even including a 10%. But high temperatures going to be affected due to that cold front that's moving through the region, dropping those temperatures from 66 to 56, then to 59, and then gradually increasing as the week goes on. But take a look at lows, and thinking on it, I might not have had a low enough temperature. Nope, I did. Perfect. Okay. Was worried because you see the temperature I'm talking about. We're on the downhill trend moving forward with Friday, your Halloween morning, starting at 38 degrees. And from there on out, we're only climbing into the mid-40s by the early part of next week. So it is going to be a cool, dare I say, cold next couple of days heading into the latter part of our week and into the weekend. But until then, that mild forecast does remain in place. due to those soggy conditions. So 53 by 7, 64 by noon, and 66 by the afternoon. Afternoon being that main time frame we're going to be getting those showers pushing into the region. But that wraparound moisture keeping those rain chances into our Wednesday before all of that does clear out and drier conditions push in place. I mean, you see partly cloudy skies Thursday to mostly sunny skies by Friday. So your Halloween, not tracking any rainfall. It's going to be the layers you need to stay warm, not stay dry, but stay warm as you go trick-or-treating. And of course, we'll have a latest look at that coming up at 10 o'clock tonight for your trick-or-treating forecast. But before we get there, we do have a latest look at what is a historic storm that's about to push into Jamaica and Cuba, and that is Category 5 Hurricane Melissa, making landfall here very soon. And we're going to be looking at the latest details on that storm. Chief Meteorologist Matt Lobhan and I will be tracking the latest on that and what ingredients are in place and how long we expect it to remain at this strength and what the path is moving forward. All of that coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 6 in the next 60. Oh.
Community is the way we find our strength and share our hope. It's the way dinner on the table brings a family closer together. It's the way we make sure his first chapter book is the first step on his path to greatness. It's the way we rally in hard times and rise back up stronger than ever. United is the way we come together so everyone can thrive. Join us at unitedway.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's scary that it can be put into anything, and we can't even see it or notice it.
Well, bringing it back here to Mississippi Live Weather at 6, we're tracking a very powerful and devastating storm in Hurricane Melissa in the close to Jamaica at this point. I mean, we're only talking about 100 miles or so. And as you can see, that pin needle eye, that is the center of the storm of what is a very strong and historic storm, like we mentioned earlier in the broadcast. So this is going to be one that continues to develop, but not a fast mover whatsoever. When we're talking about ingredients, this is in a very primed area. As you can see with the atmospheric moisture, this is in those upper levels, all of this circulating into this storm and building it in over time. But I'm going to go back one slide right here because I think looking at some of the drier air that could infiltrate into this storm, and I'm not saying weakening it quickly, but maybe dropping it a couple miles an hour at least, and that could make a little bit of a difference. But Matt, this is a storm that we've been keeping eyes on all week, all weekend, and now in the moment as folks in Jamaica are, well, they worked their way out earlier, but I think airports are shut down now. Folks just basically staying at home and trying to bunker down as this storm moves in.
They are. And, you know, one of the things when you start looking at this, I'll bring it up a little full screen here as well. You notice it's just so slow how far it is, you know, how quickly it's not moving back to the west. You also see it doing a little wobble there as it kind of wobbles back this direction, right? It is expected to peel back northward here, but it hasn't fully made that turn. And even for meteorologists, it's a little bit, I mean, you take a deep breath as you wait for that turn to happen. We know it's going to happen because of the way that everything's kind of shaped up here. As we talked about earlier, we kind of have this big old trough here. I mean, you can kind of see the trough there where the dry air is showing up. That is going to scoop this up and pull this northward. So there's really no question. Is it going to come northward? We know it will. Waiting for it to make that turn and then just, of course, dump the massive amounts of rainfall that it's going to do as it does that.
Yeah, it's something that with tornadoes, you kind of forecast the area where it's going to be impacted. Hurricanes, you know, and you just have to wait and watch as it moves into the area, knowing that there's going to be massive amounts of devastation, potential lives lost, and you just have to say a prayer because there's nothing that's going to stop this hurricane from wreaking damage in this area going forward. And I mean
because it's built up all that energy right now, and you know, even if it just fell apart, it's going to have to unwind. And that unwinding process won't happen beyond Jamaica or beyond Cuba. So it's going to be rough for them.
Well, and the only thing that we can hope for is at least a couple miles an hour off those top wind speeds. But even then, Category 5, we're still talking 150 plus miles an hour.
Exactly. You know, and in Category 5, the baseline on that, 156, right?
I believe so.
And so, you know, you're 20 miles per hour on the sustained winds above that. That's very significant.
Yeah, and gusts, I believe, were 200 plus. Correct me if I'm wrong. With this
estimation,
storm.
Yeah, and I know that they had to divert one of the Hurricane Hunter planes earlier today that was supposed to go into it supposedly. So it's this one's going to be rough.
And that's where I'm grateful for North Mississippi, because if this storm, like you were mentioning earlier at the 5 o'clock hour, worked northwest into the Gulf in that warm body of water, being at the strength that it's already at would have been a dangerous situation for us closer to home. Fortunately, not the case. This trough definitely taking it northeast, honestly, away from the lower 48 of the United States, but still with the land masses in its path in Cuba and Jamaica. And I had a few mission trips down there to the Dominican Republic, and just some people down there that I'm thinking of in this moment that I'm saying prayers for, that they'll be able to make it through to the other side and do so with as little of damage as possible, because like I said, this storm definitely one to pay attention to over the next several days. That atmospheric moisture, still a very moist environment, but some of that dry air at those lower levels were making its way to the surface or into the storm just a bit. That could drop those winds just ever so slightly, but still in a warm body of water and a very moist body of water as well. This is going to be something that continues to build over time, and we're talking about water temperature in excess of 70, 80 degrees. That's more than enough to see this build. So Melissa, currently 175 miles an hour as we look at that latest track. That 4 o'clock advisory showing 175 miles an hour, like Matt was mentioning, 20 miles an hour above that threshold for Category 5. If there was even a category above that, it would be close to that at this point. But I mean, Category 5 is where it maxes out. 906 millibars, definitely something to pay attention to, because there have been few storms that have reached this pressure level, and it could drop even more heading into that next advisory that comes out at 10 p.m. this evening. So paying attention to that, the potential for this storm to become even more historic is definitely a realistic possibility. But let's take that track out. And as you can see right here, moving through Jamaica, basically right over the top of Jamaica. As you can see right there, Kingston going to be in that path. So I know a lot of vacation destinations, some folks may be getting there for that late season vacation. Hopefully they got out of there before the storm moved in. I believe my sister, if I remember correctly, was trying to take a honeymoon down to Jamaica here in the next month. And I don't know how realistic of an opportunity that will be moving forward, but yeah, just say a prayer for folks down there. And same thing with Cuba, making landfall as a Category 3. That's still major hurricane status. And this is all just a projection. It could build back a little bit. But, I mean, Matt was talking about the path. Insanely slow. You can see the generic path that this has had, and you might think, well, this is over 2 days or so. No, this is over an entire week, as this has worked its way through the region once it was that tropical storm strength, kind of worked its way, doing some loop-de-loops in the process in a very primed environment. That's what's allowed this thing to build into this, I mean, huge storm that is a Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. So let's keep that track going. Category 2, once it crosses all of those land masses, so still just under that major hurricane status, but beyond that, you can kind of see how this rides up into the northeast, away from us here in the lower 48. Fortunately, and that is definitely the glass half full situation we can take, is that folks in North Mississippi not going to be impacted, but the glass half empty is, of course, looking at Jamaica and Cuba. So say your prayers for sure, and hopefully we can have as little lives lost and as little impact as possible, but it's just not really a realistic expectation whenever you're talking about a Category 5 hurricane. So day planner for today, I want to say that we are tracking dry conditions, although cloudy conditions are in place. 59 degrees by 8, 57 by 10, and 56 there by midnight. I am actually going to show one more graphic. I know it is 6:33, so I understand it's a little bit later, but with this being such a historic storm, I feel like it's necessary to put this graphic in real quick. It's one of our spaghetti plots, which kind of showcases different routes that this storm can take. So I might have to do some things behind the scenes here real quick. Let me find it real quick. And Matt, feel free to hop in here at any point if you have something to say on Melissa. I know that it's just a historic event for the both of us. I don't know how many Category 5s you have dealt with, but I know this is my first one that's going to be linking landfall in Jamaica and for folks there in Cuba.
I mean, it's rough. There's no question about that when you start talking about one of these. The models tend to do a pretty good job on this. You know, after it makes this kind of north track, like they do a pretty good job. And you can throw out those two west models. Let's say that right off the bat.
Yes,
those
very
are
big anomaly.
Statistical models, so those are ones you can just immediately throw out. So there's a reason why they go one direction. That's saying, hey, if it continued at this pace, statistically speaking, that's exactly where we expect it to go. And then every model that uses math says, nope, it's going the other way. So it is at that pivot point. We're just waiting for that pivot to finish.
Oh, and this is reassuring for us here in the lower 48 because every single model run has it moving northeast. So there's not even an anomaly that we could look at and get some goosebumps over. No, this is going to be something that we're not expecting direct impacts here in Mississippi or in the Gulf or anywhere in the United States area. So that is the good thing with this forecast. Again, the unfortunate part is, and you can see it right here, every single model takes it right through Jamaica and right through Cuba. So this is going to be something, again, I'm going to reemphasize it again because prayer does work. Say those prayers for folks down there that they stay safe in this process. But Matt, if you have anything else, this kind of wraps it up for me.
Well, I was going to try to pull up, and I'm trying to do it on the other computer over there, some damage that they had down at Mexico City Beach earlier today. Give me just a moment here, and I think I've got it pulled up. This same system that came through Mississippi earlier on, and again, I appreciate our friends over there at Panhandle Weather kind of doing the same thing, a part of the National Weather Network, looking at some of the damage they had. This particular hotel here was actually hit back in Hurricane Michael. I'll see if we can pull up some of the other damage they had in Mexico City. Again, this would be severe weather damage related to this line of storms moving there through the Mexico City Beach area and knocking over some power poles, things like that. Anytime you have the weather coming right off the water there, sometimes you get extra bursts of energy. So yeah, some unfortunate folks there that already have been hit by. You start talking about high-end hurricanes. Michael was one of those. Obviously, very extreme hurricanes back, I believe, in 2018 as it moved through there. So some pretty significant damage to hotel there that just got opened back up last year. So thoughts and prayers with those folks there, Gabe. But did want to share that. I saw that come through a few minutes ago from our folks, from the folks at Panhandle Weather. We kind of have a chat where we all talk back and forth of what people have seen. And
yeah, definitely down around those coastal regions, seeing the biggest impacts whenever it comes to weather over the weekend. Fortunately here, just getting the rainfall we need, and that's what we expect Tuesday to be as well. I want to answer one question in the chat. I believe it was Jade that asked it, saying, what happens when pressure rises? Well, that basically means it's a weaker storm. So whenever it lowers, it shows a lower pressure level, which of course has that tighter eye, and that's where we get that pin needle eye. And so yeah, that's typically what we expect is higher pressure levels, the weaker the storm. And being that it's 906, I mean, that's definitely telling you how low of a pressure that is. So, I mean, that's...
and another way we refer to this, we refer to it as filling, right?
Yes.
The low pressure center is filling in at that point. If you think of low pressure as kind of a valley in pressure, right? Everything rushes in, like water rushes down into a valley. As the pressure rises, it's not converging at that point as quickly. And the pressure is measured at the surface, and so it's the valley idea maybe isn't the perfect way to say it, but it's the air rushing in so that it can go up, right? And so as the pressure gradient weakens, it's not coming in as great of a pace. And so what allows it to weaken is if it goes over land or it starts going over colder water or it starts running into shear. Anything to kind of slow it down starts that process. But as long as it's over hotter water and not running into any strong winds aloft, that system continues to strengthen. That's part of what's allowed this to do this. It's stayed away from those strong winds aloft, but now they're going to start picking it up. That's where, again, that drier air that you see back here, that represents, again, what's coming toward it that's going to lift it up and make it pilot up here to the north.
Yep. Just devastating looking at that, and that view is definitely one that will be remembered for years to come as that storm kind of works its way on through. But I mean, the fortunate thing, like we've been mentioning, not expecting that here with any impacts in North Mississippi, but we are getting rainfall heading into Tuesday. Tonight though, pretty dry. And that's how it'll be even with that cloud cover. So enjoy any of those evening plans with those dry conditions. Again, schedule them tonight because tomorrow you will be bumming. But we'll look at that forecast coming up at 10 p.m. this evening and with the latest look at those and Android. So go ahead and give it a scan. QR codes right there and have the latest and greatest in weather technology right at the palm of your hands. Our next broadcast, like I mentioned, tonight at 10 p.m., showing you the latest on those model runs. And our, Chief Meteorologist Matt Laupin will be live tomorrow morning tracking those showers. And same thing with your Wednesday morning, but then Maggie will come back by the latter part of the week. So just taking some time. But yeah, just stay here for Mississippi Live Weather for the very latest, and we will always keep you updated on what to expect in the wild world of weather in Mississippi.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.